timer on the screen behind us, and then we're just going in for a nice, really slow lunge and twist, working with keeping that chest open, shoulders are on a shelf, feet are shoulder width apart, and we're taking a huge step forward. We're going to get a good anterior pelvic tilt stretching session today. So if you're a person who sits down at a desk, or you're sat in a car chair, or you're just generally in a seated position, we tend to get shortened hip flexors, and that means that our butt can stick out just a little bit from that anterior pelvic tilt, and we're going to help try stretch it so that we can tuck those hips under and really work with having nice open hips, loosen quad muscles, loosen hamstrings. We're going to be working a lot on the lower half of the body, but then we're also going to be having to work that lower core as well to make sure that it can get tightened to tuck in that pelvis. So now we're going to come down into a plank after we go in for 5 walkouts, really slowly. So you're standing at the back of your mat, you're walking slowly forwards with your hands, tapping forwards, coming right back into standing, and we're taking our time with this. It's a great way to warm the wrists up, really roll through the palms here. You're not rushing, remember, you're going at your own pace. We're not doing it for the reps, we're doing it just to get nice and gently warmed up over the next couple of minutes. Should be 3, rolling through the palms. On the last one, let's stay out in a plank. Feel free to drop down to the knees if you want. And we're going to go in for a bit more wrist mobility. So stay out in a plank here. And then let's just make those nice little rotations from the tiptoes, wide foot stance, hands under the shoulders. See if you can snuggle your hands back a bit. Spread your fingertips a little bit wider. And again, you can be down on the knees here if you want, or with straight legs. And let's just make little rotations around our knees. Great work there, Charlotte, Claire, and Sarah. We're looking good. Really keep those elbows tight to the body. Everyone's got that lovely form. Watch out for your hips drifting too high here. Wide stance. Yeah, looking good. And then we're going to drop down to the knees into a tabletop. And let's just go for a couple more little rotations around the wrists, because like I said, we may be down on them for extended amounts of time, and the wrists are a very delicate area for the body because they're not made for putting all our body weight through. So when we do challenge them, we need to make sure that they're prepared for it, and that way we'll be at less risk of injury by warming up the right areas for the right parts of the workout. So if you haven't changed direction, just change direction of your twist. Move around in one way, then move around in the other. And now what we're going to come into is just a seated position quickly. So push back into a child's pose from a plank, drop down in that nice seated position, all the way back, arms are forwards. And here we're just concentrating on the arms, concentrating on the lats, pulling the hips back really hard, and just get a little shift from left to right while trying to keep your head nice and low. And again, take your time. Don't rush it. I'm just drifting from left to right. My hands are gripping onto the mat. And I'm wide on my knees. My feet are close together. My hips have fallen in between my legs. And we're just working with that soft drift. Getting warmed up. Perfect. Okay, so here, if it's uncomfortable sitting on the knees, quite happily just sit down on your bum, not a problem. We're just going to go in for those nice controlled wrist circles now. So you can do this seated, you can do this kneeling. You're going to bring your arms out and then hands are open, big circles with the wrists, like your Mr. Miyagi, making those big circles in one direction, and then we're going to make the big circles in the other direction in a moment. You're aiming for about 10 to 20 in each direction. So that's around 10. Let's switch it over. 1, 2, 3. Keep that chest tall. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Let's just do that one more round of each side here. Really concentrate on keeping those wrists as still as possible. What I don't want to see is this. Arms don't want to be bouncing around. You want to be tensing through your bum, tensing through your core, and then we're only moving through the wrists. making those nice big circles here with open hands. 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Okay, once you've evened yourself out, let's now make our way into another down dog position and walk yourselves up. So just come into a down dog, pedal out the calves for a moment, and slowly reach those toes closer and closer towards the hands. If you're having to bend the knees, that's fine. Bend the knees until you're in a hinged over position. And let's just go wide on a stance here. Nice and wide. I just want you to drift from left to right with a soft rounding in your back. And then in a moment, we're going to come into a flat back position by bringing our hands to our hips. And you want to have a lovely flat back. So your feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width. Face them out so they're facing a little bit further out from the body, near 45 degrees. And then from now, let's come into that lovely flat back position. So start by standing up, hands on the hips, soft bend in the knees, and then come into the lovely flat back position. And I just want you to hold this here. And you can add that gentle drifting again from left to right. Get it in time with your breathing, but work with pinning back those elbows, staying lifted in the chest and not turning into this. I don't want to see a big rounding in your back. You want to imagine that you've got a rake against it. Lovely work there, Charlotte. Just keep those shoulders pinned back. Everyone work with the pinning of the shoulders. Perfect there, Claire and Sarah. Keep it coming. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to actively stay in the middle. And then we're going to just really reach down with that flat back with a soft pulse. Each pulse taking about 3 seconds. Soft bend in the knee. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, now let's stand up nice and tall. And then we're going to squat down as low as we can. Hands come into the chest. Squat down as low as you can. And then grab the ankles. And I want you to slowly peel up. So lift the hips up first. Keep the chest drilled into the thighs. And then peel your body all the way up so that your hands glide over your shins. And then you're fully standing. And let's do that one more time. So squat down nice and low. Grab your ankles and lift the hips up. And slowly peel back down. Now let's just work on keeping the hips high, keeping your chest drilled into your thighs, and stay hinged over, but really work with getting your chest as close to your thighs as possible. And we're just going to hold down here for a moment, working with a soft rounding in the back. If you want to deepen it, try pull the shoulders back a bit more. Work with the bending in your knees. You'll find that you'll be able to get your chest closer with more of a bend. It will be tougher with straighter legs. Work to what your body allows, but keep it in that range of challenging. Are you trying to get your back a little bit flatter? Let's now slowly come back up into standing. Nice slow stand. Roll the shoulders back and just come to the back of your mat. Into that strong mountain pose where you roll the shoulders back, hands go forward, and we're going to come into a walk out onto a plank onto our forearms. So slowly crawl the hands forwards. And then from there, you can come onto the forearms. And what we're looking for here is you can either hold a regular plank. If you want to make it more challenging, how far out can you put your straight arms and hold? And we're looking at doing that for the next 20 seconds. If you want to hold a regular plank, hold a regular plank. Keep the elbows stacked under the shoulders. If you want to make it a bit more challenging, reach those arms as far out from the body as you can. We've got 5 seconds left. We're practicing the static hold, getting that core fired up. Keep the hips high. Hold it there. And let's now slowly drop down to the knees, push the body back. And we're going to do thread the needle here. So what we're looking at doing is opening up through the upper back. Your knees are going to get stacked under your hips. Your arms can stay forwards for the moment. And then we are going to thread the right arm under the left arm, and then we're going to unthread it. We're going to aim for 5 reps on each side. So let's go. So you're going to reach through, your head's going to tap the ground, and then you're just going to unthread, have a little look up, and then try reach even further. 2. Keep pulling the hips back. 3. Hold that end position for pause. 4. Sink the hips a little lower. Last one. 5. And let's repeat that on the other side. So reset, both arms forwards, thread the needle, left under the right. 1. 2. Each time trying to reach further. 3. 4. 5. Nice work. Keep both arms forwards. Sink the hips low. Get a nice stretch through those scapula, through the shoulder blades, through the lats. Really reach those arms forwards. Pull those hips back, and then slowly, just slowly crawl the hands back until we come into a tabletop position. And we're going to really engage the scapula here. So we're going to stay in this tabletop position, hands are stacked under the shoulders, and we're going for those little scapular press that we've been working on, off the tiptoes, on the tiptoes. So off, and then on. And it's like we're just shrugging our shoulders here, up and down, while we're in this tabletop position. We're getting some controlled reps, up, down, up, down. You're pushing the shoulder blades away from the body, and then you're letting them sink back together while maintaining that lovely tabletop form. This is going to engage those little muscles in our back that we don't often get to work. It will feel awkward trying to do this if you're not used to this move. It took me a while to get used to it when I first started doing it. I think I had to just keep practicing like you have to do with everything until one day it just clicks. And then your range of movement will even get better in time. So if you're doing it really small and that's all you can get at the moment, that's not a problem. Just keep working with that extra little drive and it will keep growing in time. Last couple. And then we're going to come back into a kneeling. So just push yourself back. Again, you can stay seated here. You can come down to the ground if it hurts the knees and just sit down with crossed legs. But we're going to go in for a little bit of a shoulder drill now. So I want both arms out, nice and wide. And then we're just going to be twisting the arms from left to right. Yeah, a nice deep twist. Really reaching far. Opposite arms twisting. Thumb up, thumb down. And this is a great one to feel your shoulders get clunking. Try keep your torso facing me the entire time. One thumb up, one thumb down. You're twisting through the shoulders. How straight can you keep those arms? How much can you keep them in line? So you can see my arms are slightly doing a little bit of this. That's what we want to avoid. We don't want to be looking like we're having a party rocking around. You want to stay as rigid as possible in the upper body. And it should feel a slight burning here. So let's carry on with the shoulder drills right now, because nothing is more important than healthy shoulders and a healthy body. We use them for everything. You only take for granted the things that you love when they're injured, whether that's shoulder pain, knee pain. Okay, so let's lower the arms down. We're just going to come in for some big rotations. If you're kneeling, keep squeezing the bum. If you're seated, just stay nice and low and then work with the range of movement that suits you. So big loops around right now, big circular loops, but go slow. I can see a couple of us going there. See if I want everyone to slow it down, match my speed. Just reach up nice and tall, hold, slow, lower, all the way behind, And again, reach up nice and tall, really reach. Slow lower, really pinning back the elbows. Everyone's looking good here. Make sure you keep getting that reach. Make sure you keep getting those shoulders pinching back. We've got 24 seconds left. Let's reverse it now. So reach back up and then cut down the middle. Try get the thumbs facing backwards as if you're drawing 2 circles on a wall and your thumbs are the chalk. Keep pulling the shoulder blades back and down. And time, brilliant. So we're just going to go into a quick little bit more of wrist mobility. Make sure that they feel nice and supple. So just hinge forwards here, come back into a tabletop position. I'm just shuffling back so you can see. Bring your hands towards your knees. And we're just going to work with that gentle rocking back and forth again. So your hands are towards your knees. I just want you making nice little circles around the wrist. If you can't bring your hands all the way back to facing your knees, don't worry, it's not a problem. You just want to work with your hands being outwards. That's always a good place to start. And remember, it can be a little bit uncomfortable here, but you want to work with the discomfort. You know the difference between discomfort and pain. Only you can check in with yourself. There's no one who's going to know your body better than you. So think of this time as giving yourself a little bit of MOT. Just notice if one side feels a little bit tighter than the other. Maybe give it a bit more tension. And now really try lock one hand over the other. If you've got a little bend in your fingers, let's try to see if we can remove that little bend and really flatten them out. For me, I know when I isolate one arm at a time, it suddenly gets a lot harder because it's those little kinks in your fingers that are going to deepen that stretch even more when you can get them flat on the ground. So let's switch hands, switch sides. If you need a moment just to loosen that wrist up, do it. Flatten out those fingers, control those little rolls. So in a moment we're going to go into a seated neck stretch. And again, you can do this kneeling, you can do this seated, whatever you prefer. And we're going to have our legs out nice and long. So come into a seated position, kick your legs out nice and long right now. And then from there, we're now just going to go into our seated neck stretch. So lift up through the chest, really tall. Bring your left arm to the ground. And then we're going to lightly just grab the top of your head with your right arm, pulling it over to the right, staying tall in the sternum, staying tall in the chest. Staying lifted, and let's switch it over. Stay really tall. This doesn't want to be a yanking your head to the side motion. You're just aiding it slightly over to the other side while staying lifted throughout the chest, while pinning your shoulders back, while using your hand on the floor to support you to keep that nice upright position. So in a moment we're going to have some fun and we are going to make some sternum circles. So we're going to get loose while we're seated down. So let's just give the head some gentle little rotations from left to right. Right now, loosen it up. And after you've gone for a couple, moving from left to right, while staying lifted in the chest, do not collapse in the chest here. And again, you can be cross-legged even if you want. Whatever seating suits you. Make some big old circles with the head now. One direction, switch it over. Other direction. And now we get to make some fun shapes. We're going to make the sternum circles. So stay lifted in the chest, and what you want to do is throw your sternum around in circles. So imagine that there's a pencil or a bit of chalk attached to your sternum and you're trying to draw a circle in front of you. So use your hands to keep your chest up. You're just going to make some weird little shapes here. Throw your rib cage around in circles. Try keep that chest lifted. And then once you've gone a couple times in one direction, switch it up. Really try to slow it down. It's an awkward move. Some people find it can be a bit easier if you're doing it kneeling, exactly the same. And you just want to imagine that you're making those nice big circles with the sternum, a couple times in one direction, a couple times in the other. Okay, things are going to get fun now. So we're going to come into a deep squat. So whether you want to just bring one foot forward and then the other, or come into a standing position and then lower yourselves into a lovely deep squat. And we're going to get in some real deep rotations here. So deep, nice and low, keep those arms on a shelf, hold it there. And then when we're in that deep squat, we're just going to hold it for a moment. And we're going to get some reaches in. So we're going to reach up to the left and we're going to reach up to the right. So I want you to grab your ankle, left ankle with your right hand and reach up as high as you can with the left. And then we're going to switch it over nice and slowly. So you're getting a nice deep squat and a reach. While we're staying nice and low, working on opening up that chest, staying nice and controlled in the hips, facing your hand as it rotates up to the roof. And again, you don't have to be in a crazy deep squat. You can do this a little bit higher up if you find being in that really deep squat very uncomfortable. And then last couple. Maybe you can get even lower and even yourself out. And then bring your hands behind you, come into a seated position, and your legs want to stay in front of your body at hip width. Let the hands face backwards. Get yourself a little bicep stretching by snuggling the hands in line with the hips. And we're going to get in some hip swivels from left to right, meaning that we're just going to be hinging at the hips, making a 90-90 position with our knees while keeping that chest up. So tuck the hands into the hips. You can do this against a wall if you've got a wall available, giving yourself a nice base. It's not essential. It'll just stop you from drifting around. Really work with getting those knees low down to the floor and keep that chest up the entire time. So we're going to go into a deep 90-90 glute stretch. So we're going to hold this position on the right soon, and then we're going to lean into it, trying to bring our chest over our knee, over our shin, and we're going to hold it there for around 25 seconds, and then we'll do the same on the other leg. So just keep working with it. Keep getting that deep hip swivel in. We're doing great. So let's switch it over. Bring yourselves over to the right. Check your positioning. Left hand can come to that foot in front. And then we're just going to slowly lower ourselves into this position. Breathing deep, keeping the chest over the knee. Got that nice 90-90 in the legs right now. And you're going nice and low. That's how low can you go. If you want to make it more challenging, bring your arms out in front of you. Maybe you're on the elbows, that works too. And just breathe into this stretch. Sink nice and low. You might be up here, that's fine. But really try to get that chest square on to the knee. Okay, we're going to switch it up. So bring the legs over to the left hand side. And then we're going to bring our right hand to our foot and then slowly press into it. And again, take your time here. Breathe deeply with it. Sink nice and low at your own pace. Those lungs. How low can you go? Brilliant work. So now, let's come back into those hip swivels. Let the knees drift from left to right. And let's come into my favorite glute stretch. So you're going to just cross your legs, keep the right foot in front of the left. Keep the right foot in front of the left. And then all we're going to do is slowly reach forwards. And we're going to be down here for 20. So slowly reach your hands forwards. And then you should feel that dominantly in the front leg of the glute. And again, breathe into this. You can be up here. Keep that nice chest position, keep that flat back, and then you might just be down here with more of a rolling in the back, but reaching further. If you can do it with a flat back, brilliant. If you can't, like myself, we can work with it, and we can only improve. So let's switch legs, switch positions. Just bring the left leg forward, keep that right knee tucked in. And let's slowly creep forward again. Hold it down here. Breathing deep, really filling up the lungs. And let's slowly creep back up. Slowly creep back up. And we're going to go for a little bit of fun now. We're going to come into a plank, nice and slowly. Get that core back awake. So you've got the option of doing it on the forearms, or you've got the option of doing it with straight arms, but just slowly and gradually make your way into a plank position. And then we're going to come into our first combo. So things are going to add up real quick. So for this combo, we're going to be doing 4 moves in a row. We're going to start on a low lunge. And then from the low lunge, we're going to go into a low lunge pulse, and then we're going to reverse it slightly, and then we'll get some hamstring flossing in and a pigeon pose, but don't worry, I'll guide us through. Let's work with our scap press while we're here. See if you can drive up, see if you can pinch together. You can be doing it on the knees. The entire time we're being really conscious of that core. And we're just pressing with our scapula. Wide fingers. Elbows are locked in. We're not bending at the elbows. See if you can get 10 more. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay. Have a moment, recover. Roll the shoulders back, big old rotations, throw the wrists around. We're about to come into a deep lunge on the right hand side, and then we're going to be concentrating on opening up the hips again. So I really want you to be conscious of squeezing your butt forwards, keeping your core tensed. Let's come into a plank, and then let's bring your right leg forwards as high as it can go. From there, we're now going to work on some deep pulses. So we're pulsing for 5 with our hands low. And then we're driving that back knee down to the ground, driving up 4 and 5. And just keep those nice gentle pulses going. Doing brilliant here. And then in a moment, we're then going to drop that left knee down to the ground. And then from there, let's snuggle that right foot in a bit, and I'll drive the hips forwards for a gentle pulse, trying to work with keeping that chest position up a bit. You can even rest on your knee slightly. If you do have any yoga blocks, now would be a good time to use it under that left hand. If not, not a problem. You just have to reach a little bit further. And just keep working with driving those hips into the ground. And then soon we're going to go into a hamstring floss. So, we're going to bring our right hand down to the floor again. And keeping our chest as drilled into the thighs as possible, we're now just going to shift our weight back. Point the toes, hold that end position, and slowly roll forwards into it again. So the flatter the back here, the better. Like I said, if you do have yoga blocks, brilliant. For example, because my flexibility is terrible, I just have my hands there to give myself a little bit more support in my upper body. But because a lot of people don't have them as well, you can just use books. And it's still possible without them. So work with what you have. We're just getting that nice hamstring floss in, keeping your chest locked into the thighs, pointing the toes, and it wants to be a really deep stretch here. Really reaching back. And after this one, we get to go into a pigeon pose. And we're going to try it with the arms forwards. So we can start on the elbows and then really slowly creep forwards. What I want everyone to work on is keeping their knee at 90 degrees when we come into a pigeon pose and having it flat on the ground. So let's hold this N1, drive back, point the toes up. See if you can get that back any flatter. See if you can drill your chest into your foot anymore. Point those toes up. Ooh, makes it a lot harder. Hold it there. And then creep forwards. Let's come into a pigeon pose on the right hand side. So come onto the toes of your back foot. Bring that right knee to your right hand, working with the 90 degrees, and then lower the back leg. So again, if you had a block, you'd put it under your right hip here if you needed the support. If you don't have a block, just work with keeping your chest up and driving those hips hard into the floor. And again, here we're going to ease into it, slowly creeping the hands forwards with each breath. Just slowly creeping. And then we're going to repeat that whole routine on the other side. Nice slow creeping, doing brilliant. The breath work is crucial here. Every breath out, you should be able to sink a little lower. Hold that in position. Drive. Okay, creep the hands back. And let's come back into a plank position. Oh, bring that leg all the way back. Brilliant work, everyone. Left leg forward. Low lunge on the left side. And keep it on the outside of the hands to begin with. And then we're going to work with driving that back knee down to the ground and then pushing the floor away from us for those gentle pulses. See if you can work with the tension in your hips here. So you don't want to be resting at the bottom. Slow it down. The entire time, this is where I'm telling you to push those hips forwards. You should be feeling this in that front leg. Working with that soft. Okay, so drop the back knee, shuffle that left foot in a bit, and now work with driving the hips forwards and through. And again, work with different positions here. You might want to get your chest up. You might want to use that book that you've got or yoga block. If you do have any yoga blocks or any books that you feel might be beneficial in the future for these sessions, always good to have them on hand. Okay, so now we're going to go into that hamstring floss in a moment, and that's where we're going to bring both our hands down to the ground either side of our foot, and then we're going to work with keeping our chest drilled into our thighs, and maybe shuffle that front foot just a smidge back if you need to. So it's stacked under the shoulder, and from there you then push back, keep the hips square on, and rock and roll with it. So let's go, let's breathe deep into these moves, nice and slowly. The aim isn't to rush, you're working at your own pace. If you're going quicker than me, that's too quick. You can go slower, you can't go quicker in these sessions, unless I'm telling you. But ideally, and most of the time on a Sunday, slower will be harder, slower will be more beneficial, it's more control, and it's more time under tension, making it more challenging. So just work with the speed here, really work with going slower, going quicker, Not too quick. Last couple. Hold that end position again. Drive it back, point the toes, hold it here. Hold it there. Brilliant. Okay, come into a plank. And then we're going to make a right angle with that left knee coming towards the left hand. That foot's nice and high. The more tucked in it is, the more bearable. The further out it goes, the harder. Ideally, try go for a right angle. And let's go for that deep breathing. Feeling it deep in the hips. Mine doesn't even touch the floor. I can fit that right under it. Work to your ability. Worst thing you can do is compare yourself to others. And the sooner you realise that, the quicker your progress will come. I find it's when you always try to compare yourself to others and match what they're doing, that's when you lose focus of your goals, and it normally messes up your own training. Breathing deep. Hold it down here, we've got 10 seconds left, deep hold. Brilliant. Okay, slowly peel out that. Oh my God, the pain is real. So, get into a plank. Oh. Keep the hands stacked under the shoulders. Tense your butt here. And if you can, additional extra, you can either just be in a regular plank. If you want the harder option, scat press. Let's go for 10. 1, 2, 3, no bending at the arms. 4, 5, you can be down on the knees here. 6, who's going for it? Yes, I see people moving, great work Charlotte. 7, 8, 9, 10. Drop down to the knees. So from here, we're going to now reach the arms forwards, getting a really nice deep lat stretch. Reach those arms forwards, sink the chest low, and really pull those hips back. And we're just going to hold this position for a little bit. Loosen up the lower body, upper body, through the lats. Really reach those hands forward. See if you can shuffle them a little bit together. And while we're down here on the mat, you can give yourself that gentle temple massage. Great work. So what we're going to come into is laying flat on the ground for a moment. So just shuffle your legs back. Shuffle your legs back. Keep your arms forwards. And then we're going to work with lifting our arms only off the ground. So you can push your shoes into the floor. You can push your hips into the ground by tensing your butt cheeks. And we're going to lift our arms for 10 seconds at a time. And then we'll have a quick recovery. So we're off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift the arms. Recover. Okay, quick breather, and then we're going to go again. So concentrate on having nice straight arms. Keep your hands nice and flat, and lift with your head flat on the ground. Let's go. Okay, rest. 10-second breather. We've still got 3 more of those. Each time lifting higher than the next. We're off in 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And recover. 10-second breather. Final 2 coming up. And then we get to go into the proper cool down. And you should be feeling nice and limber. Let's go in 3, 2, 1, lift. As high as you can, flat hands. Push your shoes into the floor. Tense your bum. Recover. So this last one, I just want you to lift as high as you can for as long as you can. We're going to see if we can go for 15 to 20 seconds. In 3, 2, 1, lift. Ten more. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, brilliant work. So come into a cobra, shuffle the hands back in line to the shoulder blades, and let's work with lifting before we press off through the fingertips. So lift through the upper body first, drawing a line with your nose up to the sky, minimum use through the hands, they're there to support you. And then peel back down nice and gently. 2 more. Head touch the ground, draw a line with your nose, looking up. One more. Then hold the top position. Brilliant work. Okay, stay in this nice cobra position. Push back, wide knee, child's pose. Arms go forwards, hips come back. Hold here for a moment. Breathe. 5 deep but vocal breaths. Okay, then we're coming up into an up dog, down dog even. So snuggle those toes in, plant the hands, lift up through the hips. Really get that lovely flat back on the go. Claw through the fingertips. So we're working for the flat back position here, feeling that stretch through the lats. If you want, you can bend the knees just a touch. Really work with pushing so hard through the ground to open up that upper body. It's been great for the hips, it's been great for the upper body today. We have had a full body stretch, emphasis on anterior pelvic tilt and upper body mobility, overhead mobility. So now, crawl those feet into the hands, reaching the heels down to the ground, getting that nice calf stretch, and then come into a bent knee position if you need to, stay hinged over. Grab your ankles, or even better, put your hands under your feet for the harder option. And we're going to squat down nice and low, really slow. And you can either have your hands on your ankles, or on your shins, or hands under the feet. And then we're now going to peel up really, really slowly, about 30 seconds. And the aim is to keep your chest locked into your thighs. So don't let any contact disappear between there. So slowly peel up, and then we're going to feel that stretch in the hamstrings. The moment we start to peel away, that's the area that you want to work with, and just hold it there. Hold it there. Maybe see if you can straighten the right leg and the left leg. Ease into this position. It wants to feel like an elastic band that you're stretching to its limits. If an elastic band had feelings, this is what it would feel like. So now, remove your hands from your shoes. Just hang there, drift from left to right. Looking behind your legs. Breathing deep still. Hands are stroking the ground. Really slow, really melodic. Your breath wants to sound like waves of the ocean. And then from here, let's really slowly now just peel up. Reach up nice and tall. Make a strong, big shape. Wiggle your fingertips. Watch out for a head rush. Take a couple of deep breaths up here. we're going to finish on the 2 big swooping movements. So right now, grow as tall as you can. Really deep breathing. Each time, you're going to have a huge back bend. Let's go in 3, 2, reach up tall, 1, let's go. Big back bend, 1 more. Reach it back. Hey, well done everyone. I don't know about you, I have got a funky head rush. Make sure you've got some water on hand. You should be feeling nice and nimble now. Thank you so much for